Good day, people. This is Dr. X Keyscore here, hopefully bringing you some more valuable information regarding the program. And this is my second video. I'm not used to doing video or audio productions. It's really not my thing. I'm doing this out of necessity. I think we need some people standing up and speaking out about the grave atrocities that are going on these days at the hands of Homeland Security, the FBI, and the rest of the deep state establishment. Once again, I go off the cuff. Nothing's written down. It's all off the top of my head. I have a pretty decent memory. Committed most everything to it regarding this illegal protocol. Yesterday, I discussed the architecture, the framework for this operation on the federal level. But what I'd like to do today, trying to keep this first video for the day, if I can get number 2 out later, I'm going to try and keep it under 10 minutes. And means I'm going to talk a little bit faster, just hit you guys with the facts. So it might take watching more than once to get it all in. So yesterday I discussed the federal and military, paramilitary intelligence architecture, fusion center level and above. What I'd like to do right now really quickly is go into the community aspects of your stalking and your street theater. So one of the biggest groups that's evolved over the past 10 years, I believe the terrorist liaison officer programs geared up between 2005 and 2008. And it was the brainchild of some fine fellow out there in the Midwest. He might have been a fireman or an LEO at one point in time. I'm not sure. However, these days, law enforcement officers, especially firemen, EMS, and county and city utility workers are now trained by Homeland Security to be terrorism liaison officers. The acronym for that is TLO. And what are terrorism liaison officers? They are supposedly, quote unquote, information gathering personnel. But really what their true job is to engage in overt stalking in the community along with the surveillance role players. You guys can Google that. That's what the Department of Justice refers to them as. Surveillance role players are civilians, regular, obnoxious individuals who have been trained to overtly stalk you through commercial locations. They're also referred to as live action role players. Now, in your neighborhood, you'll have a neighborhood watch system, and there's something called Citizens Corps. Now, Neighborhood Watch and Citizens Corps basically are tasked with, keeping eyes on potential threats in the neighborhood and passing that on to local law enforcement, who would then in turn enter it into the system, and it would get fed to the threat fusion centers. Well, these people are tasked, your neighbors, Citizens Corps members, Neighborhood Watch members, surveillance role players, live action role players, and the terrorism liaison officers are all engaged in your active stalking on a daily basis. And incidentally, they're funded by the federal government for these acts, which do indeed constitute domestic terrorism. Now, also on the street level, you're going to have the law enforcement intelligence units with your local and state police interfacing with gang members, criminals, and once again, your neighborhood, anyone who works at a commercial location that you frequent, whether it's a store, a gym, the liquor store. They're going to roll in with a fake dossier, tell them that you're, mutilating starfish out of a sexual desire every other full moon, or just something totally off the wall and disgusting, in order to turn the individual against you. And this is an old Stasi trick. Why go out and recruit people that don't know you to approach you? What they're going to do is they're going to come after your inner circle first, and they're going to compensate them, coerce them, or threaten them. They have a few different tactics for approaching an individual who they want to get to engage in this protocol against you. So not only do they do a psychological profile of the target dozens of times over to see his evolution, psychological evolution or variances underneath the protocol, but they also psychologically profile the individuals that they're going to approach and who are going to be involved in overtly stalking you. Now let me see, where can I go from here? Payment methods, gift cards, health care, immigration assistance. When I lived in Miami a few years back, they brought in 2 individuals from a Latin American country when the sponsor could barely afford a $600 a month apartment. The deal for him was, you help us overtly stalk Dr. X, and we'll bring in your sister and her boyfriend, who are both like 19 and 20 years old. You can sometimes get a visa for one family member from these countries, but for a family member who has no means of supporting herself at 19 years of age, there's no way that you're going to bring your 20-year-old boyfriend here as well. So what they do is they'll offer a lot of these recently arrived immigrants immigration assistance if they engage in overt stalking. And they might say, hey, we realize that your mom is down there in Honduras, and she's had her visa hung up for a year and a half. I'll tell you what we're going to do is we're going to have your mom here in the U.S. within the next month or 2 if you agree to help us. And by the way, when your mom gets here, we have a job here for her as well. And then they're going to give these people $15, $20, $25 an hour. They're going to help them purchase a vehicle or lease a vehicle. They will help them rent an apartment in your neighborhood. You can be an upright, law-abiding citizen, and they will utilize the scum of the earth in an attempt to take you down. This is standard operating procedure for them. The other thing is that these gift cards that they dole out are utilized to buy clothing that matches certain color patterns as part of Homeland Security's neuro-linguistic programming protocol, which is, how would you say it, heavily intertwined with the program. It's one big aspect of the program, and that would be contained under, how would you say it, the subsection of this, if it were written out, of the PSYOPs. So the NLP is actually an aspect of the PSYOPs. And there is one other thing that I wanted to mention to you guys. Spoke with somebody about it on Twitter. Oh, okay. I said the individual suggested to me that solely the FBI was responsible for his stalking. This was conveyed to me in a message, direct message on YouTube. My response to him was, it is easy to be fooled into thinking it is any one group because they use the same tactics, and that is part of their game. Plausible deniability through multiple actors. That is one of their keys to getting away with this illegal operation, which constitutes domestic terrorism. I think in the next video, let's see how many of these I can get out a day. I really have to balance my priorities here. What we can do is discuss some ways to effectively combat your targeting. Listen, guys, I hope this has been helpful to you. Please, please do not let these demonic forces really get the best of you. You've been targeted because you're special people. You have integrity. You were not chosen by random. In a way, it's a really sad thing, but in a way, it's a compliment to your character as well. Remember, God's warriors do walk the earth. They're fighting for you. Keep the faith.